साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ Sai Ram, everyone. As always, wonderful having every one of you for this Sunday Satsangs with Swami's property, his students. And today we have one such wonderful person who I got to interact a little bit during Guru Purnima, and all I can say is, like many of his predecessors who have been on this program, he started off with his undergraduate, postgraduate, his M.Phil, and then his doctorate in physics. And apart from that, he has had the blessings to be part of the entourage which was involved in the Athi Rudra in Chennai. He's been with Swami to Shimla. Was Shimla, and was it the Delhi and Shimla trip, brother? Delhi and Shimla trip, and he's had several chances to speak in front of Swami, act in several plays, direct them. A person who is well read, who has very deep thinking, that no wonder Swami got him to motivate and inspire people with opportunities bestowed during his student days. And currently he is in Singapore, so he is part of us here in this community. So we have a local speaker, if you put it that way, in amidst our wonderful brothers and sisters. So please do welcome brother Dr. Jagdish Chandra. Sairam to you, brother.
Sairam, brother. Offering our most humble and reverential pranams at his divine lotus feet. Dear brother Venkat, and brothers and sisters of the Sai family, and of course my elders, loving Sairams to all of you. It's been quite some time since I would say the opportunity of interacting with you all has been eluding me. To be able to speak about Swami also needs tremendous amount of blessing, and it's not easy to get that. And if not for brother Venkat, I don't think this would have been so easily possible. And more than anything else, I would first of all express my gratitude to that wonderful medium that brother Venkat is, that I am having this opportunity of recollecting some of the most beautiful moments. Time and again, Swami has spoken and told us wonderful things. And if Swami repeats something very often, or Swami tells about something very often, it is for us to reflect, to ponder and meditate upon it. They are not ordinary words. If you would tell me repeatedly Dunna Pota means, I literally have to meditate on the word Dunna Pota. There is something in it for me. It's as simple as that, because no word of his is a mere chance. He's Sriman Narayana himself. He's the essence of the Vedas. I was wondering what I could share, in which context should I share something today. And that one thing, that was the introductory part. By the way, I was actually blessed to be born in a family of devotees. So I was a fourth generation devotee of Swami. So the moment I opened my eyes, for me, the only God I knew was Bhagwan. That's all. And it was so easy to relate to him in the physical form. You see somebody in front of you. From that perspective, if you look back, okay, what is it that I need to follow? There are fantastic texts. There is the Bhagavad Gita, there is the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavatam, the Upanishads, everything. But when I have the opportunity to learn something firsthand from the avatar, what should I dwell upon? And that thing that is so tied to my eyes is the first time when I became a student. I was sitting in front in the Sai Ramesh hall at that point in time, because it was the year of the summer course. It was 16th of May 2000. And that Swami, who was always a portrait figure in the altar, became a reality in front of my eyes. I saw that Swami at almost the same distance. It was an exhilarating moment. And during the summer course, during multiple times, and of course, throughout the avataric phenomena, that beautiful phenomena that Satya Sai is, there is one song, there is one bhajan that we all have heard, and it is so close to our hearts, and that is Hari Bhajana Bina Sukha Shanti Nahi. I was trying, and the way Swami would sing it, the way he would emphasize on certain syllables, probably, as I say, we have to contemplate on it. We have to close our eyes and think what it means. Hari Bhajana Bina Sukha Shanti Nahi. The first line. What does it mean to us when we say that there is no happiness other than thinking of the Lord Himself? There is no joy, no source of joy. It was May 2007. We were blessed by Bhagwan to be a part of his entourage to Kodaikanal. And by the time we reached Sai Shruti, it was almost 6:37ish in the evening, probably a little too late, little late too. And a few devotees would have waited outside, and they would have left. They would have been told to leave because it was pretty, late in the evening, and things are getting colder there. And that is when we all reach Sai Shruti. And as we were sitting, Swami comes in. So we were sitting in the main hall of Sai Shruti, and Swami also comes in. He's exhausted physically. We are exhausted too. It was a long journey, by the way, from Coimbatore all the way to Kodaikanal by bus or by four-wheeler is definitely not an easy thing. And as Swami was relaxing, he just went back on his chair, and then he looked at us, 20 of us, hardly 21 of us. No instruments, no mics, nobody in the vicinity, Swami and us. And Swami says, Bhajan chayandi. Start bhajans. There is no harmonium, there is no tabla. As imagine you are singing in front of the Nadeshwara, Lord Shiva himself, no accompaniments. And the Lord is in bliss. They were like frogs like me, or crows like me, if you might call, who are no better than at croaking. There were, of course, those traditional fantastic singers, but Swami would pick any one of us at random and ask us to sing. And we were like, each one of us sang in our broken syllables. But Swami was lost. He was so joyous. That was a message. No matter how tiring your day, no matter how hard your day has been, what you have gone throughout the day, at the end of the day, no matter how bad you are at singing or how good you are at singing, or does not matter, just sit in front of him and sing, because he's eager to listen. He's not waiting whether you're a Grammy Award singer or you are some other singer or anyone. He's just waiting for you to put forth your voice. He's just waiting to receive it. And it is not for him that we are singing. It is for us to be at peace with our own selves, for our Swami within. And that is the feeling that day I got, that Hari Bhajana Bina Sukha Shanti Nahi. That peace that I felt that day, sitting face to face with Swami and nobody else. It was as if I was sitting in front of my altar and we all were singing like a small family bhajan that we have so very often. No accompaniments, nothing. You just clap with your hands and you sing. But that was such a blissful moment. What made that moment so happy for me? Was it the quality of the singing? It was barely anything. If I ask, if I look at myself, or the likes, was it the accompaniment? Was there a flute? Was there a harmonium? Was there talam, kanjira? Nothing. At that point in time, it was to reach out to him. Yes, I have come at the end of the day. I am tired. I need to connect to my Swami. I need to please him. And how do? I pour out myself, probably in the form of a bhajan, probably in the form of reciting a Vedic hymn, probably in the form of a shloka. But the ultimate aim is to be able to connect to him. And that was the defining moment in the form of like, that which brings peace unto me is the moment I try to connect with him. And that is what I learned from that Hari Bhajana Bina Sukha. There's no peace, there's no happiness until and unless you're able to connect with him or to connect to him. Hari Naam Bina Anand Nahi. So this is a very funny and beautiful episode. So we have these notebooks, and those were the good old days wherein we took a lot of pride and we took a lot of effort in putting our name labels on the notebook, and we would write our name. And typically, our South Indian names run pretty long. So you don't only have your name, you have your village name, you have your family name, you have your father's name, and probably sometimes grandfather's name, and it almost crosses the nameplate in some sense. So one fine day when Swami came for darshan, he saw one boy was having his book. So he picked up and he saw and he read, like it was literally, he was reading from this end to that end. The name ran that long. But right beneath it was the, you know, college affiliation. What college do you belong to? You have name and then roll number and class and then college or institute. So it was there. And there he had written SSSIHL. And then Swami said, Yemira, when it comes to your name, you will write your name, your family name, your grandfather's name, your village name. But when it comes to my name, you just write SSS completely. Raira, write it at least fully. Sri Satya Sai, at least you write. That is Likitanama. You will get Punyam. That is how the Lord taught us the most fundamental concept or tenet of devotion, that is to chant his name. It does not matter when, it does not matter where, it does not matter how. If you have an opportunity, do it properly. Even on the nameplate of your, or not nameplate, it's the label of your notebook, if you are writing SSS and trying to get away, he's watching you. Even there he says, write Sri Satya Saira Punyam Durkutundi. That is Likitanama. Means he's telling you, Likitanama Japa, you write million times, right? You don't need to write a million times. Whenever you get an opportunity, if you write it with cognizance, that itself is Likitanama. So how important that name is, Harinama. That name, how important it is. And most of the times we actually forget it. It's not that we don't know it, but we are not aware of it most of the times. And what happens is, a beautiful episode, it was during one of the convocation dramas in the year 1999. And the teacher in charge, who was also helping, Swami is definitely the convocation drama, means Swami is the director, the script writer, everything, but there are a few teachers who assist. So Swami told the teacher in charge, in that particular year, in that drama, there was a scene involving Pandavas and Lord Krishna. And Swami was extremely particular that in that scene, the boys should really look like gods, like heavenly creatures, heavenly beings, not creatures. And then Swami said, told this particular teacher in charge who was helping with the costumes and stuff, see, మన పిల్లలు సాక్షాత్ పాండవుల్లాగా ఉండాలి. Means my children should look exactly the way Pandavas looked in Dwapara. So like that, you have to get your dresses. So if you read Kasturi Garu's Loving God, he very beautifully describes Puttaparthi as a stone's throw away from Stone Age. So in 1999 was not that good either. Even then, you had the super speciality and all those things, but still you cannot get those kind of, production quality costumes which can satisfy the Lord. I mean, of course, when the master is celestial, his expectations will be astronomical. One has to keep that in mind. So the teacher thought he understood what Swami wanted, and he went. And next day, what he did is, in the Dashera time, I don't know how many of you got a chance to visit Parthi villages in and around. They have these burakathas, wherein they will wear those, and on the center stage of the village, they'll sit and they'll sing those bhajans, burakathas. So from such a small troop, which was there in and around Puttaparthi, and which was quite famed at having these kind of dresses and stuff, the teacher got that dresses. And that day he was waiting to enter, being called into the interview room. And Swami was like sitting on the edge of his seat in the interview room. He's waiting for the dresses. Just imagine. See, that is the time when he's acting like that. There is a big lesson. Be sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't act. He acts only to communicate to us. Maya Nataka Sutradhari. He acts to communicate to us. So Swami is at the edge of the seat and he's waiting. And the teacher comes in, and Swami says, "Did you get the dresses?" And the teacher says, "Yes, Swami, I got it." And he showed. And the moment he showed the dresses to Swami, Swami's face shrunk. Ayyo, this is street drama dresses, Ra. This is not the dresses I want for my boys. They should look like Sakshat Pandav. This is street drama. This is not what I asked for. So this person thought that probably Puttaparthi might not have it. Maybe I'll explore to Kottacheru, a little farther away. Maybe things might improve radially. So he went next day, got a few more dresses. Again in the interview room, same scenario. Swami eagerly waiting at the edge of the seat. He goes in, and then Swami looks, "Oh, no, this is not that drama. No, this is not the kind of dress." Next day, he finally went to Dharmavaram. From Dharmavaram, he comes back again. Swami always again waiting eagerly for the dresses. And Swami is disappointed. Now this teacher understood that, okay, probably it's not in the nearabouts. So what he did was, he went all the way to Bangalore. Now when he went to Bangalore, he went to a particular person, a costumes person, who was actually involved with the film industry. So he would procure, or he would supply dresses to the film industry. And he goes and he looks at the dresses, and then he asks, "Can I borrow these dresses for a day or two? I have to show it to the chancellor of our university, because there's the drama." He didn't mention anything about Swami, and the most uh, you know official way of addressing Swami to an external is, the chancellor of the university wanted to see. I said, "Absolutely, but these are very costly dresses for the film industry, so they have a rent. So you have to pay something close to a 500 or 1,000 rupees per dress per day. So based on that, how many more days you want, you can take and you can get it back. And this is the cost you'll have to pay." The teacher gulped, and then he thought, "Oh my God, okay." But he had to show Swami, so he said, "Okay, I'm willing and I'll take it." So he goes and he takes it to the interview room the next day, and Swami is like again waiting at the edge of his seat. And the moment this teacher shows these dresses, Swami's eyes light up. And Swami says, "Idi Baundi. This is good. This is how my students should look on the stage that day." And as he was telling, the teacher's face was morose, it almost sunken, because he had a bad news to convey. What is the bad news? He said, "Swami, but this dress, they are charging 1,000 rupees per day for a single dress." And then Swami started, "Oh my God, 1,000 rupees. My dress doesn't even have a pocket," Swami said. These are literally Swami's words. "My dress doesn't even have pockets. Where will money come from? I don't have money. Where do I get 1,000 rupees per dress?" Then there was silence. And at that point in time, Swami looked at this teacher and said, "Did you tell that person my name? Did you tell my name? Harinama bina anand nahi. Harinama. Very important. The name is very important." He said, in the whole thing, he realized that he addressed Swami as the chancellor of our university, and not as Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba, not even as Satya Sai Baba. He said, "No, Swami, I didn't." That was the lesson. And then Swami said, with as if you're trying to teach somebody a lesson million times, and he just things don't get into his skull. With that kind of a face, Swami said, "Okay, go tell him that in Puttaparthi there is one Satya Sai Baba. He doesn't have any money, so he wants these dresses for a drama in his institute. Go and tell him at least like this." He says, "Swami, forgive me. I will go and tell him today only." This Banga. Next day, religiously, this teacher went there to the person and he said, Sir, actually, I forgot to tell you one thing. These dresses that I took, it is the chancellor of the university, but he is Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. So even before he could complete Satya Sai, even he could come to Baba, this person shot out of the room. Why means he's an ardent devotee of Swami. He had been praying and cursing himself, Swami, I entered into this film industry line. Will I ever get a chance to serve you? The moment this person says this is for Satya Sai Baba, he didn't have to complete this sentence. This person, with his all lock, stock, and barrel in his van, he is in Puttaparthi that day afternoon, waiting for Darshan. Swami, I want an opportunity to serve. This day, the final day, this person is waiting outside, sitting in the Darshan lines. The teacher is entering the interview room. The lesson has been conveyed, and that day Swami was no longer eagerly waiting at the edge of his seat. He was waiting the way Sriman Narayana is in Vaikuntha, absolute peace. And as this, but today the teacher was exactly opposite. He was like super excited, and he said, Swami, you know what happened? That person is your devotee. He's waiting outside. He's come with his entire van, lorry full of dresses, whichever dress you want, he's willing to offer it. And that is when Swami said, went down towards him and said, Bangaru, ఒక్కసారి, ఒక్కసారి, just once utter the name Sai. There is nothing in the universe that you cannot accomplish. It's just that you forget me. Harinama Vina Anand Nahi. That what joy that name can confer. I'm talking about a very, materialistic, insignificant thing, a costume dress. But this name has been meditated upon by the sages and seers of the Himalayas even till today. There are experiences of Kasturiji who have seen gods and demigods waiting with folded hands around Swami. It is that phenomena. When somebody like Anandamayi Ma, when one of the devotees of Swami goes and talks to her, a great evolved yogin of the East, asked her to tell about Swami, she said, an avatar of this magnitude and phenomena never walked and will never walk again for the next 10,000 years. These are not ordinary statements. What is that phenomena that we have had and we have a chance to know and to understand? Prema bhakti vina uddhara nahi. And very beautifully, the line that follows that is Guru Seva Vina Nirvana Nahi. Prema Bhakti. These are very, if you take them very absolute in a word by word way, it says love and devotion go hand in hand. But if you slightly look at it in a metaphorical way, or in a figure of speech manner, your bhakti should be full of prema. Means my devotion to him should not be artificial. It should be, some used to say, heartificial, full of heart, full of love, full of prema. And that is what he appreciates, and that is what he likes. N number of times we have heard Swami telling, I am not bahya priya, but I am bhava priya. I like and I am thirsty for that feeling in your heart. The problem with us most of the times is we are the people who don't try to understand the root cause but work on the symptoms. If somebody Swami spoke to very often, we would try to see, why is Swami talking to him? There must be something special about him. He must be doing something which is absolutely out of the world. We all went into that, but the beauty of that process was that you end up trying to find something good in everyone. There is good in everyone. Most of the times we don't want to see it. But at least through this pretext, when Swami spoke to someone, you would want to find what is that he's doing so good that Swami is talking to. Maybe his reason of talking is absolutely different. There is a word in the Bhagavatam, it is known as ahetuki. Hetu means a reason. You have a reason to do something, a cause. Ahetuki means that which is beyond reason. Swami says so beautifully, right? No reason for love, no season for love. Ahetuki stands for that. The Bhagavatam describes the Lord's grace as ahetuki. But what it also says is that our devotion to him should be ahetuki as well. It should not be bound by reasons and seasons. Devotion with love. And what does that love mean? Does that mean that, okay, I love Swami a lot, things around him I don't care pretty much? Is that the way I formulate my definition of devotion, or is there something that I learned from my senior when I was in Vrindavan? Very silent person. Swami used to speak to him very often, and I was very impressed by his silent demeanor. And I wanted to see what was he special about. And it's our foolishness again. We think that there needs to be something special for Swami to interact with you. No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's ahetuki, as I was telling. But one fine night, for some reason, I went to the washroom area around 2:30, and I saw this brother cleaning all the washrooms. We had designated people. There were workers who would take care of all of that and things to be done. And in that, my sleep disappeared looking at him, because I was trying to search what is he doing so special. And I asked him, brother, why are you doing this at this point in time? Isn't a person designated somebody supposed to do that? That's a part of a duty. The hostel, by the way, is run in some sense 80% by the students themselves. There are a very few limited courses which require a lot of effort and a lot of time. For example, the kitchen work and cleaning work, which is not done by the students. Otherwise, even a cleaning of the your individual departments, the ground is taken care of by the self-reliance departments of the hostel. This brother gave an answer. He said, the person who's supposed to do this job, he had I don't remember the name at this point. He has fallen sick. He's suffering from viral fever. If he doesn't do his job, there are two problems. One thing is the washroom area will not be clean, and second thing is the person who is seeing that, okay, this is not done, he will put a remark against his name that he has not done his job properly. That poor fellow, he has two kids to support. Probably he might find it hard if things go against him. So I thought, I'll do it on his behalf. What a beautiful lesson. It was not about the act, it was what feeling was there in his heart when he did that. And that is what pleases Swami so much. Guru seva bina nirvana nahi. When you say that prema bhakti bina uddhara nahi, Guru seva bina nirvana nahi. That act, that devotion, full of love, should be used to serve the master. Not necessarily the master in the physical form, but in any way you deem necessary. Probably by sweeping, probably by mopping, probably doing Narayan seva, probably singing bhajans or chanting. It does not matter. In fact, a very funny and beautiful episode was one of my own classmates. When he joined in the school, he didn't know how to sweep. And the first day as he joined the hostel, he was given the broom. Means he was that kind of a person who didn't know which end to hold the broom. And he basically took the broom and he was staring at it for some time, and then he figured out. And with a lot of effort, he literally cleaned the room and then ran to for darshan. Sorry, before going for darshan, he he mopped, he cleaned the whole room, and then he held the broom like Bhima holds the mace, the gada, and he stood in front of Swami, the altar in that room, in that room, and he told Swami, to that photo in the photograph of Swami, see, such a great task I have accomplished today, because he never swept in his life until then. And he said that, put the broom in its place, and freshened himself up and ran for darshan. When he came for darshan, Swami came gliding for darshan, stood right in front of him, created vibhuti, put it in his hand, and said, for the great task that you accomplished in the room just now, this is the prize. This is the reward. It does not matter what act it is, something as simple as sweeping. What he is looking for is, are you trying to connect to him through that act? Guru seva bina nirvana nahi. It's that beautiful phase wherein the act disappears. What remains is he alone. You are using the act as a mere medium to connect to him. Japa dhyana bina sanyoga nahi. Some people talk about the spiritual discipline as a matter of statistical probability. That you have to hit that one point in time. You have to chant that name or that mantra with absolute stillness. And that is why they say that probably you have to chant 108 times or 1008 times, because the statistical reason is, in that 108 times, probably there will be one time wherein your mind will be absolutely still and you'll be able to think of the Lord. It's basically some kind of an error budget analysis in some sense if we do it. But what exactly does spiritual discipline mean in some sense? Is it that we are supposed to follow the spiritual discipline to achieve something? Or is it that spiritual discipline is a byproduct or a means for something greater or something else? Very simple example. Discipline, no matter what act you do, is something which is integral to Swami's institutions. Does not matter what. It is absolutely and he led from the front. Swami led from the front. I don't know how many of us really observed. Swami would cut his nails very deep, so deep that many of the times they would be cut in his finger and his fingers would bleed. Why? Because in the darshan lines, when he would receive letters from the devotees, he didn't want to hurt them. Look at the the fulcrum. What is the basis of that discipline? He need not. He's absolutely not bound. But why is he doing? It is love that drives him. What kind of love it is? So the question at some point in time that comes in front of us is, until when should we follow this discipline? So there is a very beautiful episode at one point in time. There was a student who was blessed enough to get proximity of Bhagwan, get a lot of interviews. And in due course of time, what happens is, the mind is such a thing that sometimes he plays tricks and convenient philosophy comes to our rescue. So what happened was, after a few months, one fine day when Swami came from for darshan and he was entering the interview room, this boy hadn't arrived by then. But the moment Swami entered the interview room, he appeared, he came. And after the first interview got over, Swami came out of the interview room and he saw him sitting. Few days later, things got a little more delayed. And as time progressed, the delay only increased. And it finally came to a point where Swami came, Swami took first group and then second group. And probably when he came out, he didn't find the boy. And Bhajan's time, this boy was there. And then Swami looked at him and he said, Bangaru, what's the matter nowadays? You are coming a little late for darshan. What is it? And then, when Swami asks you things with such an ease, you're so very trapped. You're so very doubly trapped. And he thought, like, Swami, you are anyhow everywhere. You are in the hostel, you are on the path. That is when Swami assumed a stern posture and looked at him and said, are you really convinced that I am there everywhere at every place? Tell me. And this boy started shivering. I said, no, Swami. Then shut up and come for darshan on time. Spiritual discipline, unless and until one reaches that ultimate, there is an etiquette. We typically understand it wrongly. We think discipline is an imposition. No, it's an etiquette. Unless and as long as there is duality, it is our duty to follow the discipline in the best possible way. Once you realize that, it's a different ball game altogether. Once you understand that Swami is there everywhere, that's a different thing. But unless and until that happens, you have to be a part of that spiritual discipline. So japa dhyana bina sanyoga nahi. It very beautifully, to me, it meant that I am supposed to follow that discipline at each and every step of my life. Swami has laid down guidelines. I am supposed to follow them no matter what. The question is, if Swami, being Swami, the Lord of the universe, if he cuts his nails deep, if he shaves properly, who am I to say that I am beyond discipline? Does that give me even an iota of relief? No. The beauty of that avatar was the cosmic Lord was the first and foremost devotee of his own dicta. If at all there was any devotee who followed every aspect of what Swami said, it was Swami alone and Swami himself. Nobody else. Nobody comes in a distant second. Japa dhyana bina sanyoga nahi is a constant remembrance of how we should be following that discipline. In fact, to be to go into a slightly higher, deeper connotation, at one point of Swami was talking to us in Kodaikanal, and he was talking about evolution, and he was telling us how evolved once a person becomes evolved. Because I was telling you that once you realize it's a different ball game together, and you know that Swami is everywhere. And Swami had a very beautiful thing to tell that day. He told us, "Look, boys, even if you are realized, you are living in a society of people. Your realization shouldn't become an obstacle. It should not become a matter of inconvenience to the people around you. Yes, you are realized, you are one with the Brahman, all that is fine, it's good for you. But you have to be cognizant of the people around you to conduct yourself in a manner that befits you being a person amidst them in the society." That is the essence of that spiritual discipline that has to be there throughout and through in what we do. Here comes another interesting aspect. When Narada was traveling through Gokula or Vrindavan at that point in time, he came across a Gopika who was lost in a reverie. And what was that reverie? When Narada comes, she folds her hand and welcomes him and said, "You have come at the right time, because it's only you who can resolve this dilemma." Narada tells, "Let me know, I'll try my best." She says, "This morning I was milking the cows. And at that point in time, as I was milking the cows, that little Krishna appeared. And he said, 'Won't you give me some milk to drink? I'm feeling hungry.' And I immediately took that earthen vessel and I started pouring unto him. I said, 'Yes, Kanha, drink as much as you want. Drink, drink.' And as I was pouring, suddenly from the other end, my mother-in-law yelled and she said, 'Why are you dropping the milk on the ground?' And that is when she shook herself and she realized there was no Krishna. It was just her imagination. And all the milk had fallen onto the ground. And then Narada is pondering what to tell and says, 'No, that's not the end of it. In the afternoon, I had gone to get water for household work. And there was an earthen pot. And I filled the water there. And as I was about to lift it, that little Krishna appeared and he said, "Why do you want to carry the burden when I am there? Put it on my head. I am willing to take all your burdens." And I lovingly asked him, "Kana, are you willing to do this for me?" And he says, "Yes, yes, yes." And as I put the pot, I suddenly see there is no Kanha, there is no Krishna. The pot falls and it breaks. Tell me, O Narada, how to get this Krishna out of my mind? And Narada is literally doing a handstand there. Why? Because he's in a dilemma. He says the yogis and the tapasvis are struggling their lifetimes to be able to reach into a position where they can get a glimpse of the Lord once. And here this lady has an absolutely peculiar dilemma that Krishna is not going out of her mind. She is trying her level best to push him out of the mind. That is the effect. When we follow that spiritual discipline, what is it meant to do? The Bhagavatam very beautifully describes that in the process of following that spiritual discipline, what it is supposed to do is bring us to that state of ahetuki, to be able to love him unconditionally and incessantly. That is the state which the Gopika had reached, and even Narada was like beyond comprehension. This is the beauty of that line, which I always felt. There is another episode on the similar lines. A classmate of mine, a very dear friend of mine, he shared this with me. So, what exactly is a mantra? I follow the spiritual discipline. I get a lot of yearning for him. What is it meant to do at the end of the day? It was the time of the farewell programs. An outgoing batch was singing their heart out and singing a lot of songs. And then Swami very graciously spoke to them. And in that whole thing, there was one song, a very beautiful song. I'm sure you all would have heard it. It is sung by the great singer Hariharan. "Kaise jiyon main यूं तेरे बिन तू जो नहीं तो." So it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful song. And this song that was sung in front of Swami that day. And this boy broke down because he was leaving. The batch was leaving. And he was telling to himself, "How am I to live without you now? Kaise jiyon main यूं तेरे बिन." And that day, Swami told, out of the blue, Swami wanted to speak, and he said, wherever you go, believe that I am with you. Have that firm belief that Swami is holding your hand all the time. So as that day's program got over and he was walking back to the hostel, what he decided was, I am going to assume from this moment on that Swami is with me. He cupped his hand as if he's walking, as if Swami is holding him, his hand. He put his hand in that particular posture, and he started singing that song, Kaise Jiyon Main Yun Tere Bin. And there's almost tears welling up in his eyes. And he walked from almost the general hospital to the Vidyagiri Arch. Suddenly, a person, absolutely like, looked like the haggard, hair all unkempt and all over the place. He came running to this boy, held him by his shoulder, and asked him, "What mantra are you chanting?" And this boy got taken aback, because it was like he was lost thinking about Swami, and he was singing that song. He was trying to feel Swami's presence, and here this man comes and shakes him up, and he asks him, "What mantra are you chanting?" He says, "No, sir, I'm not chanting any mantra." I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not chanting any mantra." "Oh, I actually saw Swami walking right next to you. So I thought probably you're chanting a mantra." Japa dhyana bina sanyoga nahi. Sanyog is that confluence, his presence, which is a result of that japa dhyana. But what is that japa dhyana? It is not a mantra. It is a yearning. It is the yearning for the mantra, a yearning to be close to him, a yearning to be one with him. That yearning is what draws us or draws him closer to us, and not the mantra specifically. So it's a very important thing not to lose in the discipline. The discipline is very important. It is not the end, it's a means. The end is not even a mantra. The end is a yearning. And Swami very beautifully once told us, when Swami asked us, "What do you all want?" One of the boys got up and said, "Swami, I want mukti." And Swami said, "No, Bangaru, don't ask for mukti. Mukti is not the full stop, it's a semicolon, probably a comma. Ask for bhakti. Bhakti is both the means and ends unto itself. Mukti means only for this kalpa you'll be free. You'll go to the source. But again, when I decide to create, you will again come out. But if you have that bhakti, you will always be immersed in that sweetness. Don't ask for mukti, ask for bhakti." And the devotee's name Swami quoted was, "Be like Radha." When you form that kind of a devotion, so much so that you start telling him, "I really don't even care whether you're there near me or around me. I just want to be one with you. I want to remember you without any reason." That is when he becomes yours. In fact, when Akrura was carrying Lord Krishna, they find a lady standing in the way. And Akrura asks him, "Krishna, who's that lady standing there?" And Krishna tells only one line. He says, "The whole world comes to me, but I go to her." That is the devotion that Swami was talking about. Crave for that kind of devotion. Prabhu darsha vina pragyana nahi. That kind of wisdom doesn't come unless and until you have his vision. Now, what is that vision? And Swami told us very beautifully, the cosmic vision of Lord Krishna was not the 10 hands and 10 heads and this fire coming out of one mouth. That's a representation. That's good. But Swami said the actual Vishwa Virata Swarupa is the ability to perceive him in every atom of the universe, to be able to realize his presence in every atom of the universe. That is the Vishwa Virata Swarupa. Swami then quoted the line from the Vedic hymns, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. That is Vishwa Virata Swarupa, Swami said. To be able to come in terms or to come to that state wherein we are able to see him everywhere. To be able to get there, we need to be smitten by him. So there was a military personnel, an accomplished military personnel who was Swami's devotee. He was sitting in veranda and he was telling Swami a very curious thing. And what it was, it was about a Komodo dragon. And he started telling Swami, how a Komodo dragon hunts. And Swami, the master who has created the whole universe is like folding his hands. Tell me, I don't know. So he started probably showed a pic and said, Swami, Komodo dragon is like a huge lizard. It's a reptile. It hunts in a very peculiar way. Nobody can certify it for sure, but at least the scientists believe that this is what the process is, based on the reactions of its prey. So what the Komodo dragon does is that it goes and bites its prey. In doing so, it injects its saliva. It's not a venom, it's some kind of a saliva. And that saliva has a neurotoxin. So what that saliva does is it creates a hallucination in the mind of the prey. So what happens is, what is that hallucination? The hallucination is that the prey starts seeing Komodo dragon everywhere. Wherever it goes, it sees only the Komodo dragon, and it does not know. It's basically running hither and thither, here and there, because it's under the neurotoxin influence. And that is how it succumbs. And this military personnel was telling this to Swami, and what Swami's reaction was, just imagine. Swami says, exactly like me, the way I do. The moment I catch my devotee, I make sure when he is smitten by me, he finds me or he sees me everywhere. At that state where he is so much in love with me, it's but impossible for him to find anything or see anything other than me. And that is Prabhu Darsha Bina Pragyana Nahi. To be able to see him everywhere, in every at every possible juncture, in every human being, it's a vision unto itself. And he has tried to tell us this time and again. It was in the year 2005, the Vice Chancellor's conference. Four of us were blessed by Bhagwan to give talks for that conference. And after the conference, we wanted to have a photograph with Swami. So, and how do we tell him? How do we tell that Swami, we want to have a photograph with you? He was very pleased. But the Lord, he knows the innermost feeling of your heart, and he came straight to us and he says, let's have a photograph. He called all four of us. So all four of us were standing next to him, two of us on one side and two of us on the other side. And he started asking the photographers or the shutterbugs to take photos. And as photographs were being taken, how sweet he was. One battery of shots were over, and then Swami looks at them again and says, once more, please. And again, you can see the flashes, and Swami asked them to take their photographs, and that fantastic. It was a beautiful experience. And then we mustered some courage to tell Swami, Swami, did you like what we spoke? Are you happy with our performance? Because it's only for you. And Swami said, Chala santosham ra, chala santosham, very happy. And then Swami said something very important. He said, when you were standing under the lamppost of the music college and preparing your talk, at that point in time, I was there with you. When you were in a dilemma as to which episode to put in your talk, will Swami like that episode or will Swami like this episode if I speak in front of him? I was there with you. When you were trying to formulate your talk, what points to put in, at that point in time also, I was with you. And to sum it all up, Swami held our hands a little more tightly and said, even now, I'm with you. That Prabhu Darsha Bina Pragyana Nahi. At every point in time, are you in a position to see me, to feel my presence? And if you are able to feel that, you have got the wisdom. There is no wisdom greater than that. To be able to see him in every place, at every point in time, to realize, to be aware of that solemn yet powerful presence. Daya dharma bina satkarma nahi. Means it's a very beautiful phrase, and I don't need to speak much about this, because the very name of the organization that has been created is Sri Satya Sai Seva Organization. It is service oriented. Service comes first. But how do we do service? Daya dharma bina means you have to do service with love, with a lot of compassion. One of our teachers told us this thing, that was this Narayan Seva used to happen before the Gram Seva began. It was in the late 90s, and he was having fever. He was had running fever, so he decided that he will not go for the Narayan Seva and he would sit for darshan. So he sat for darshan, and Swami came out. The entire student block was empty. This was the only person who was sitting there. And Swami said, "You didn't go. Why you didn't go?" He said, "Swami, I'm having fever." He said, Swami said, "At least serve water. If you cannot do anything, at least serve water. You don't know what merit you are going to get." In fact, to take it to one further step, Ishwaramba Day, 6th of May 2007, Swami arranged for Narayan Seva to be done in Kodaikanal in Sai Shruti, and Swami gave us white t-shirts that day to put them on and perform this seva. And as we finished, we were like, actually, when you carry those vessels and stuff, it gets a little greased and a little dirty here and there. But we were told that Swami is retiring, is going in, so we all came running. We came running and stood around him. And as we stood around him, Swami told us, there was like as if Swami, tears welled up in his eyes. He choked looking at us. And he said, "Very fortunate you all are." And then a few of us mustered some strength. "Yes, Swami, we are very fortunate, because probably because of our parents." And then Swami started looking deep and he said, "Not just your parents, your grandparents, their parents, how many of them prayed that you should get this opportunity, and you are getting this opportunity." And then one more of the boys joined and said, "Yes, Swami, we are so fortunate that we are in your presence." And then Swami looked and said, "No, no, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm telling that how fortunate you are that you are able to serve." Just imagine. Until now, the thing that was uppermost in our minds was, you acquire merit by serving. That was the first time in my life I understood that even to be able to serve, a lot of merit is needed. Swami was referring to that. You are so fortunate. Your parents, your grandparents, so many people prayed, and that is how you got this opportunity. And what is that opportunity? That you are able to serve today. Daya dharma bina satkarma nahi. It's like count your blessings. Count your blessings, not just because of anything, but because you are able to take that jug of water and serve someone. That you are able to hand over a packet of food to someone, to hand over prasadam to someone. Because ultimately, whatever physical resources that belong to us are his. They are not ours anyway. In fact, the Rukmini Swayamvar in the Mahabharata has a very beautiful inner significance. The way the Rukmini Swayamvar happened was, Krishna was actually not invited by the king Rukma and his brother, Rukmini's brother, because they didn't like Rukmini's father liked Krishna, of course, but the brother was even more powerful, and he didn't want to. Rukma didn't want to call him. But this is the mistake that we typically make. Lakshmi, Rukmini Devi was actually an incarnation of Lakshmi. Lakshmi is meant for Narayana only. All the physical material possessions, the wealth that we have, is meant to be offered to the Lord. If we don't do that, he will come and abduct Rukmini the way he did it. He comes and he abducts and takes. So he will forcefully snatch it away. So the Bhagavatam very beautifully tells that he will do it in many ways. Sometimes in the form of Daridra Narayana, sometimes in the form of a thief. Krishna at the end of the day, they say him Chitta Chora. He's a thief at the end of the day. Narayana will come in his form also and take it. But the surrender of all those things unto him is what is paramount. So all that has to be offered with that feeling in heart, daya dharma bina satkarma. It means any good deed, without that righteousness and without that love in heart, it's of no value. There is no greater deed than that. And the final and beautiful one, I think that is the crescendo of the whole bhajan. Bhagwan bina koi apna nahi. There is none whom we can really call ours other than him. It has multiple connotations, multiple meanings at multiple levels. Probably I'm being extremely stupid in trying to give a very physical interpretation to it. It's almost like a blind man trying to describe an elephant, probably even worse, but this is what I will try. So that was the time when Swami would ask for a lot of programs. So we would perform a lot of programs, and he would literally make us perform in the small corridor, and we would come and perform. And the notice was given, you're performing in front of the Lord. I mean, just think that for the Christmas Eve, the carols that the choir that would come, they would practice for almost 6 months, and then they would perform. And we were given like almost like a week's notice, or sometimes even 2 days notice, to perform in front of him. And at some point in time, you have to, it's not the same 5 boys, or it's not the same 10 boys who can go again and again. You also feel for others, you want that everyone should get a chance, so you end up giving a lot of opportunities and put other people also in the thing. And so one of the program, there was this particular scene. It's a conversation between a king and a sage. Yeah, it's a conversation between a king and a rishi, a sage. This boy who was playing the sage, he was not a very established actor in some sense. Probably he had stage fear. We didn't know that at that point in time, but we had to give that role. And he had only a one liner in that whole drama, but that one liner was very important. That changes the course of the drama. It is like the conversation between Yagyavalka and Janaka. Tattvamasi, he tells, and that's the change of the whole story. That one line, it's so something similar to that. The scene progresses. The sage stands up and he looks to his right. He's seeing Swami looking at him. He looks to the left. He sees 10,000 people staring at him. He froze. I mean, a person who's not used to the stage, it can be quite daunting. You have Swami, forget everyone else. You just have Swami on one side, that's enough for you. He's looking at you. Okay, come on, your next dialogue. And on the other side, there are people staring, and this boy froze, and the dialogue is not coming out. The king had already fallen on the feet of the sage, expecting for his dialogue. He's almost tugging the dhoti of the sage. Hey, come on, tell man, tell your dialogue. And this boy is frozen. And for some reason, he held the mic. He spoke something which is absolutely, you just cannot make head or tail of it. What he spoke was Suru, 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 he said, and he sat down. Now, what does that Suru mean? Nobody knew. And like, now the king is supposed to get up. He was supposed to tell, oh Lord, you have given this wonderful message to me, and now my life will be hinged or anchored on that. And now this guy speaks Suru, 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 and nobody knows what Suru means. What is he supposed to say? Thankfully, he was an established actor. He got up. He, you know, uh, got hold of his mental reins in some sense, balanced himself, and he said, thus the sage spoke the mystical words Suru, and he walked out. So he walked out from that, and like this boy was like feeling so guilty. Nobody knew what had happened. The drama went on, everything went on. Finally, when the group photographs were happening with Swami, this boy felt so guilty. So mind you, whenever we did these programs, we had a very strict quality check. In fact, for every small program that we put forth, a person none other than the vice chancellor himself would come and go through a dry run, because it has to be put in front of Swami. Tremendous quality control. And you make a mistake, you'll never get a chance to go in front of Bhagwan again. I mean, that is literally walking on razor's edge. And this boy makes Suru, 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 and he sits down, and we have no clue. And in the group photograph time, he goes close to Swami. And your Swami, that is the beauty of Swami, is that he knows what is going to the heart, and he's trying to indicate to him, sit down, don't talk now, don't talk now. But he just broke and said, sorry, Swami, I couldn't tell, I forgot. And he said, and that is when the vice chancellor saw from behind, what's happening? What's happening? Sorry, Swami, I told Suru. And the vice chancellor came close. And he said, came close to Swami and, Suru, Swami, what is Suru? Swami looked at the vice chancellor, no. He is simply is emotional. Suru means Su, means Manchi, good. Ru means Rutamu, eternal. What the sage was telling the king was, O king, may you be blessed with that goodness which is eternal. And then says, what wonderful dialogues are boys write. Vice Chancellor is like, he couldn't make head out his most cryptic message on earth he would have ever received. And like, that is how Swami covered up. Bhagwan bina koi apna nahi. He is the one who is on your side. He's the only one on your side whom you can really call as yours. In Kodaikanal, I still remember the day very vividly. It was 8th of May 2007. We were sitting on the upper floor right outside Swami's room, and Swami came in that day. Nobody had a clue that on that upper window, the curtain went off slightly. And Swami was the one who was sitting. He removed the curtain and he was looking at the devotees down. Nobody knew that it was Swami who was peeping at them, or not peeping, rather, he was looking at them. Nobody could get a hint. And as Swami was looking, he was looking at us and he was telling, that devotee, so much of devotion for me. Every day without fail he will sing his bhajans, no matter how bad his work is, how much trouble seen, he will not forget that. That devotee, whenever Swami's car starts from Bangalore, he will be waiting with garlands. He will run like mad behind Swami's car. That devotee. In that way, the Lord started talking about every devotee. The irony was that nobody knew downstairs that Swami was talking about them. And then Swami looked at us and he said, Enta bhakti undira vallaki, how much devotion they have, and I am sitting amidst fools like you who don't value. So this is like almost always you would in the end he would make us realize. But that day, the message, the beautiful message was, how much did Swami considers, or how much does Swami consider each devotee as his own? Whom can we really call our own other than Swami himself? There is none. There is absolutely none. The most critical, I still remember one of the, we came back from vacation and the warden was waiting outside the hostel. Literally, almost we felt as if like warden is greeting us. And he says, boys, I was waiting for you. Come in. Swami wants a program tomorrow. And like we just still with our bags in our hand, and Swami wants a program tomorrow. Other boys are still trickling down. What program do we put? We prepared a program which is nothing but four of us talking. It's literally like a sledgehammer. Two of us get up and talk about dharma. Two again get up, talk about dharma, atma dharma, paradharma, apad dharma, everything about dharma. I'm telling you, today if I look back, I feel pity on the people who heard us. And by the end, when the program was ending, you could look at the faces of the people. You can see the cloud, a very subtle cloud. It's like you come out and we'll take care of you, kind of a look they're giving. Like you stand up and hammer people for 45 minutes, and I was like, we were like four of us holding our heads and sitting, you don't know, only Swami can save us now. Means we are helpless. We came back from vacation, we just put our luggages, and the warden tells, Swami wants a program. Swami, this is the best that we could do, and we offer it unto you. Probably Swami had pity. Swami had a lot of mercy on us, and he called us, created a vibhuti, gave to all four of us. uh, Professor G. Venkatraman, one of the previous former vice chancellors, and also the uh, main in charge of radio site one point in time. Swami called him and said, "See what wonderful things they told about dharma. Classic. How beautiful it is. You should, translate it into all languages in radio science and broadcast it." Suddenly the mood changed. Oh my God, yes, Swami, this is fantastic. This is phenomenal. This is how he came to our rescue time and again. Means if today we have to take a step back and you have to say, whom can we call ours? It's only Swami. Means he's literally, there is nothing, it's an understatement if we say that he's the love of our lives. It's absolutely an understatement. How I wish that we get to hear that bhajan and again with him swaying his hands, beautiful smile, clapping and singing that bhajan, Hari Bhajan Abhina Sukha Shanti Nahi. How much the heart pines to listen that once more. Of all that I have spoken until now, as I was telling, it's probably like a blind man trying to feel an elephant. No one can describe Swami. And probably what I'm trying to tell in front of you is just trying to tell anything but the truth. Maybe he's nothing of it, maybe he's everything of it, and much, much more than what we can comprehend. It is just the foolish prayer of the wave unto the ocean. What does the wave know about the ocean? Probably we'll never get to know what Swami is, what Swami means to us. It's just the prattle of the little kid in the mother's lap who thinks he knows what mother is. With that humble prayer, I offer this small session at his divine lotus feet and seek his and everyone else's forgiveness if I have spoken something which is beyond me, because as I always feel that it's really, to define him, to describe him is the most foolish thing. It's just what I tried to do in some sense was to probably share that love that I experienced with you all, and probably I would leave it at that. And the interpretation for each one, as they say, for to each one thine own, that is the best interpretation for each one of us, what we take back. But I also extend my heartfelt gratitude once again to Brother Venkat and to all of you, because through this 1 hour 1 hour 20 minutes rather, I got a chance to go back in time and taste that sweetness once again, that nectarine sweetness of Swami. Thank you so much. Jai Sai Ram.
Ram, that was absolutely wonderful. Uh, a bhajan close to all our hearts and connecting it with the experiences and the interpretations. I think it's a wonderful way of it to stay impregnated in us in terms of connecting with him and understanding that everything that he did was for us to increase our yearning for him and also have that how do I say that tadap in the heart
Absolutely,
to
absolutely.
to 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 be one with him and as you put it opportunities you had to put up those last minute requests of dramas or whatever that had to be put forth. Those are these opportunities that we don't have to wait, they come our way and it is our responsibility to seize them, not to please him, but to go through the process to be connected. So I'm going to open up. We have time, and I actually have. If you could probably give, say, in 10 minutes. It's a tough thing, but I want you to touch a little bit about the Athi Rudram. I mean that's something that I know that you gave the opening talk or one of those sessions. I remember during our discussions. I think for the benefit of all those here, and I also wanted to get recorded. Could you please give a brief, I don't know, some highlights of that Athi Rudram that took place in Chennai?
Okay, sure, brother. So this was like that opportunity which came from, manna from the heaven, they say. But this was not the manna from the heaven. This was verily heaven knocking at your doors. So just imagine, we were planning for this drama called Sri Krishna Rayabara. And I was the lead character of Lord Krishna in that drama. And we had taken permission from the warden. We were practicing, and we had practiced the whole, probably the entire night and then subsequent morning. And we came back around 2 in the afternoon, and I just was freshening up and just lying down for some time. And you don't know when that lying down went into a deep sleep, and suddenly there is a thud, and somebody knocks and wakes me up, and it's my dear classmate. He says, Swami is waiting for you, run. And I didn't know if it was still sleeping or I was awake, or was it a dream. What exactly is it? I had no clue. And I ran. I just got ready, just freshened up myself and ran. I had no clue. What was it? What was Swami waiting for? And I was sitting, and I was told to sit right in front of the interview room. And I sat, And in 5 minutes time, the interview room door opened and I was asked to come in, and Swami looks at me. There were a few elders from the university and the trust who were there inside, a couple of them. And then Swami looked at me and asked only one question. Yemi matladtavu? What will you speak? For me, it was the training was always like, you don't question the Lord. You just tell yes. So I at that point in time, what came out of my mouth was, Swami, Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja. That is the first line of the Hanuman Chalisa. And then Swami, like, beautiful, Guru Gurinchi Matladu. You speak about Guru. Said, yes, Swami. Shri Guru Charana. That was, for some time, it was going in my mind. I don't know why, but that aspect of Guru. And then Swami, its next question was, Yakkada, where do you think you're going to speak? And I said, Swami, I don't know, wherever you tell me. He said, in Chennai. I'm taking you with me to Chennai. Will you come? And at that point, Swami, command, Swami, whatever you say. In fact, that the point is that you, at some level, I feel he respects your human emotions and uh, your relations so much. Only he can do. That was the time when my parents were moving into their new house, and that was a group pravesh going on, and I had actually sought permission to go home to attend that. And Swami is like, will you come with me? I'll take you. And I said, Swami, this can be nothing. In fact, my parents tell me the most beautiful thing was at that point in time when my parents were entering into that house, I gave the card to Swami. Swami looked at the card, and there can be nothing, not a better thing. But the whole point was that this was that Guru, talk on Guru. So I prepared. We went to Chennai, and just imagine 10 of us and Swami. And in that 10, that room was so small that Swami would be sitting at the center. There'll be a table and a chair for Swami, and we'll have every session of a dining session with Swami. So, and the room was only enough for 5 of us and Swami. So the other 5 would go downstairs of the other dining room where you could have food, and we would switch every alternate session. 5 of us here, 5 of us there. So we would do that. So one fine day, then the subsequent day was my chance to speak. And Swami asked who's going to talk tomorrow. So I had gone to wash my hands. I just finished my meal and I had gone to wash my hands. In the meantime, Swami asked this and said, Swami Jagdish is going to speak tomorrow. I said, okay, call him. So I came down and said, Swami, what are you going to talk on? Swami asked. I said, Swami as Guru. Swami's first question was, do you know the meaning of the term Guru? I said, Swami, of what the books that I have read and what I have heard from my teachers and my elders, Guru comprises of 2 syllables. Gu stands for Gunatita, Ru stands for Rupa Varjita. The one who has transcended the form and the attribute, Guna and Rupa, is a Guru. And then Swami said, have you come across any such person in your life like that? I said, Swami, you. But then Swami said, Kani naku Rupa munde, but I have a form. You just now said Rupa Varjita. Gunatita, Rupa Varjita, one who does not, is a formless. But I have a form. Then how can I be that? Then I realized, oh my God, okay. I said, Swami, with or without form, you only are my Guru. I said, okay. So what are you going to talk on? So I explained that Guru as Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, the Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, that shloka. I went a little deeper into it as Brahma, as Vishnu, as Maheshwara. He sows the goodness in us as Brahma. He takes care and protects it like Vishnu, and all the evil weeds that grow out, he destroys them like Maheshwara himself. So all of that. But the pujaris will not agree to what you speak, he said. And I was like, it's too late, Swami, now. It's already, it's almost like the curd is set in my head. If I shake it a little, it'll get disturbed. So I said, Swami, now what should I do? Swami said, no, you speak, I'll take care. There was a reason. I won't go into the reason of why Swami said that, but I'll tell you one thing. What he did, what magic he did, I don't know. But the pujaris were the ones who were clapping the loudest that day. It's right in front of us. They were literally clapping their life out. Literally like that, they were clapping. So that point in time, that day, as this happened, Swami said, okay, you speak, I'll take care and all of that. And then suddenly Swami told us, Boys, you have a lot of doubts. Ask that doubt which is topmost in your mind, and I will clarify that. Listen, you cannot get a bigger boon than this in your life. So we each one chose one question top of our minds. And when my chance came, I asked about Sharanagati. What is surrender, son? What does surrender mean? But this is the beauty of the Lord. He never says, okay, you sit, I'll tell you. I am the Lord after all. I can tell you everything. He's like, Bangaru, first tell me what you have understood about Sharanagati until now. That is the Lord. Where the love, he gives so much of importance to that jiva, which he considers as his own spark, right? Do we do that is the question. And I said, Swami, the little that I have heard and the little that I have read, offering that which I call as mine or offering my everything to you or to my God is surrender. And Swami was folding his kerchief. And Swami said, God does not want anything from you, sir. That was the first sentence Swami made. And then Swami said, at every point in time in life, if you believe, if you can tell yourself that whatever is happening is good for me, that means you have surrendered. I said, yes, Swami. Do you know how to drive a car? Swami asked me. I said, yes, Swami, I know how to drive a car. How many gears are there? I said, Swami, 4 gears. First, second, third, and top gear of the fourth gear. Is there a problem when the car is running in the first gear? Swami asked. No, Swami. Is there a problem when it is running in the second gear? I said, no, Swami. Third, fourth. So I was actually getting confused. Probably I was not able to get what Swami was hinting at. I said, Swami, I don't know. And then Swami said, then where is the problem when you drive a car? Probably people who drive these automatic cars might not be able to relate to what I'm saying. In India, most of the cars are even now manual gear transmission cars. So Swami said, in car, the problem is in transition between the two gears. When you move from the first to the second, second to the third, third to the fourth, or between any two gears, that is the problem. What do you do? I said, Swami, we press the clutch. Swami said, exactly. When you press the clutch, the transition becomes smooth. Similarly, in life, there are 4 gears, just like in car. Happiness, sorrow, happiness, sorrow. When life is going on happy, is there a problem? No. Even when bad times befall, is there a problem? No, life still continues. Where is the problem? The problem is in between the transition from happiness to sorrow. That is when we lose our balance. Even from sorrow to happiness, we lose our balance. Both are there. So just as in car, there is a clutch, in life too, I have given a clutch. And that clutch is the thought, that Sharanagati, what we call the thought, that whatever is happening is good for me. If you are able to tell yourself that, the transition between happiness to sorrow will be smooth. But he's not just the Lord of the theoretical concepts, but also the practical exercises. So my practical was yet to come. So he told me the theoretical part. The practical part was, after all this happened, the next day was my talk. And as luck would have it, there was a problem with the PA system. So before me, there was a music program. Before I spoke, there was a music program. Sorry, after I spoke, there was a music program, and the PA system went wrong at that point in time. And Swami was visibly very upset. He looked at me and he said, Yemi baga matladu. You didn't speak well at all. My heart sank. And the custom was that whosoever spoke that day, he would be the one sitting right under Swami's nose and having his food. I was shuddering. He is Lord Shiva at the end of the day. And today is almost like his third eye is going to open. And I am sure to get reduced to ashes. That's for sure. I was shuddering to sit close to him, and I sat there. As I sat, Swami again looked at me. Yemi baga matladu. Every 2 minutes he would look at me, didn't speak well at all. And I was like trying to think, oh my God, I didn't stop anywhere. I didn't miss a thing. Even the pujaris clapped. He was actually apprehensive. But now, where did I go wrong? I was thinking. And like Swami was constantly telling me, "Maatladadu, Bhaga maatladadu, didn't speak well, didn't speak well." And then Swami made a statement. He said, "You didn't speak a word about Sharanagati." That is when I thought, oh, Swami, here you are mistaken. See, Sharanagati was my personal doubt. It had nothing to do with my talk. My talk was a totally different topic called Guru. So you're mistaking, Swami. You're totally mixing up things. So that is not my problem. So you are actually mixing up things. And like Swami again after that started telling me, he started the tirade. And he didn't speak well, didn't speak about Sharanagati. Even a word about Sharanagati, you didn't speak. And I was like in my mind, no, Swami, you're mixing things up. No, Swami, you are wrong. Swami, you're wrong. At some point in time, that foolish ego, within us, that voice which thinks that it knows a lot, that goes to a level wherein you are deaf to that Lord, the voice of the Lord in front of you, the Lord, the voice that speaks to you. You are deaf to it. Your own thoughts are so topmost. You are trying to tell the Lord that, He's wrong. You are right. You are mixing up Swami. I am the one who did the fantastic thing. That point in time when that voice, the foolish voice within my head reached to its crescendo, there was pin drop silence. And then Swami looked at me and said, Yemirani Sharanagati, where has your surrender gone? Just yesterday I told you, whatever happens is for your good. Why can't you believe that even today, if Swami is shouting at me, it is for my own good? That is when I realized spirituality as a theoretical concept is so beautiful. Practice is a totally different ball game altogether. And I was like literally almost tears welled up in my eyes. I choked. I said, "Forgive me, Swami." And Swami, "Hey, Bangaru, sit, eat, have food." And he smiled. That was one lesson. That surrender, Sharanagati is a very difficult concept to practice, but so easy to talk about. And probably that is one thing that he wanted me to learn in my life, to be able to surrender to him, to accept whatever happens in life as his prasadam. This was one of the highlights for me from the Athi Rudra Maha.
Wonderful, so very wonderful. I can't be more practical on that particular process. On rain or shine, whatever comes your way is His prasadam. I think we had this point also covered when we were talking on happiness is union with God earlier this month. I'm going to open up for maybe a couple of questions. If anyone has got it, please turn on your mics. And Brother Jagdish is probably someone I've seen who can articulate and simplify complex topics. I guess that's due to the umpteen sessions he has had the good fortune of being with Swami, where Swami does simplify things to a manner that goes into even a Dunnaputa's head, if I have to use his term. So, if anyone has got any questions, please do ask. Um, would be a wonderful opportunity for us to get more answers. And I'm just trying to collate all these answers so that many of these can go to the younger minds who have a 3 minute hearing attentive span when it comes to getting all these messages of the Lord assimilated. Any questions, anyone? We have a couple of minutes. I if you can also type and I can ask if you want to. Sairam, anyone? Or just wave a hand if you can on the chat. That will also let me know if anyone has got it. Brother Jagdish is here. He's busy also doing some, despite being a PhD, is doing further education in his academic sites. So he's it's been difficult to have him, considering that he has had several other engagements with regard to work and studies as well. But I'm sure he's not going to go anywhere from Singapore, and we are going to be blessed to hear more of his wonderful experiences. I think we can have an entire session on the dramatic aspect of his experiences with Swami, with the drama and theater. So we have heard Brother Arvind from a different side, and we'll hear Brother Jagdish from a different side. So it's two rivers flowing into two different planes. But then the master director of all the plays is the Lord Himself, and He has a lesson or two for each one of us, customized in His own manner. So thank you so much, very much, Brother Jagdish. Absolutely blissful Sunday evening, and praying that all goes on well with your assignments due for submission, and looking forward to having you for further wonderful conversations on experiences with the Lord. Time to get Brother Jagdish to address our youth. Yes, Brother Jagdish, that's been a wish list. I would definitely hope we can organize. I would like to have a session for the Singapore, probably the teenage Balvikas, and probably those transitioning to being youth. I think it's
Mhm.
very important for them to get certain lessons, and sometimes coming from inspired souls like you, it has a far better chance than some of us who don the role as gurus or parents. So there's Brother Vivek asking me to send that across to you. So hopefully we
Absolutely.
have that happening on a special satsang with the
Sure.
young minds, without us
Absolutely.
being there, probably giving you the freedom to talk without us having to monitor that. With
Absolutely.
my heartfelt thanks to you and to the Lord for being kind to getting all you alumni to come and uh, and enlighten us every week. Just to let those of you know, next week we have a speaker from California, for which the time of the satsang will move to about 12 o'clock Singapore time on Sunday, or 9:30 India time on Sunday, because the usual times we have will be sleeping time for people in California. So we have a change in satsang time. The next speaker is from California. That much I will share for now. More details later in the week. But the satsang is likely to happen at 12 o'clock Singapore time next Sunday, or 9:30 India time Sunday morning. So let's finish off with Samastalokas, thanking the Lord for yet another wonderful Sunday.
Thank you so much, brother, for this opportunity. Thanks to everyone for blessing me with this opportunity to relive those moments once again. Thank you so much. Jai Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Samastalokas. समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु 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 समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ॐ Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai. Sai Ram, and have a wonderful week ahead and good night. Sai Ram.